Right, guys. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another interview of Lions Den Sports. I've got Dmitry Salita on with us today. Dmitry, we've been speaking offline, but how are you, brother?
Everything's great. Good to be on.
You were just telling me about the weather back home. How are you finding the cold weather?
It's real winter. Well, I kind of like it when it snows. It's peaceful, but then when the cars start driving by and life happens, the snow gets a little dirty. But it's I like all the four seasons. So
Yeah.
it's a nice day today, but we had some snow over the weekend, and which I'm sure we'll talk about soon. But this week I plan to visit Jermaine Franklin, whose campus in Florida. So it'll be a nice change from the winter to the summer because it's always summer in Florida.
Yeah,
So
man,
looking forward to
make
that.
the most of that hot weather. What's the snow up to? How high is the snow where you are?
It's probably 6 inches.
Okay.
Yes, it's significant.
Yeah, man. Nice, man. Nice. Well, you've been a busy man. I've been trying to get hold of you for quite a while. Hopefully, when you're in the UK, we'll do a sit down properly. But what's been going on in your boxing world, man? How's things been going on?
Things are going very well, and again, I getting a significant amount of interest from the UK boxing press and fans, and I love boxing in the UK. And I every time that I come to the United Kingdom for boxing, it's a holiday for me because boxing is a mainstream sport, and we in the United States can definitely learn and pick up some of that energy that goes on in the UK. So always very grateful to have big fights. We have one coming up with Jermaine Franklin April 1st versus Anthony Joshua, life changing opportunity for him. Clarissa had a big fight against Savannah Marshall in October, and there's possibility of her coming back to the UK, working on that. So interestingly, the best heavyweights in the world are in the UK, and even for Clarissa, who's the best woman in the sport today
Right.
of all time,
Yeah.
that the UK market is so rich, and even though she's not British, she's American, but
Mm.
the British boxing fan is so educated, so knowledgeable that there's a need and there's a want for her, which is really incredible.
Well, why do you think that is? Why do you think that it is that she's so popular over here?
Well, I believe that for there has been no American fighter in the peak of their career who's traveled across the pond to fight their rival in their different country, whether it's the UK or France or Germany or any other big places or Italy that have had champions. No one, as far as I can remember, Floyd Mayweather didn't fight Ricky Hatton in the UK. Roy Jones didn't fight Mikaczewski in Germany.
Errol Spence comes to mind against Kell Brook.
Errol Spence versus Kell Brook. Well, Errol Spence won his title in the UK, as did Kovalev. But Errol Spence at that time was not really a superstar. I'm
No,
talking about guys that
yeah,
are and Kell Brook wasn't really his rival. He was a very good fighter, but
yeah,
it wasn't. I'm talking about guys like Crawford versus Spence, that level. Ricky Hatton versus Mayweather. Roy Jones had Mikaczewski. I'm talking about guys that were real rivals, real arch rivals. And
mm,
Savannah Marshall was a real arch rival for Clarissa.
mm.
And Clarissa really wanted to avenge that loss and came to the UK and did what she had to do with flying colors. And what a great fight for women's boxing. And so fantastic to have Sky behind it, which appeals to a wide audience. The storytelling on Sky, the behind the scenes things are really incredible. And that event will drive women's sports to the next level. It's another important step in making sure that women get the equality in pay, in recognition, in visibility that they need. And everybody works together. And even though it's boxing, I feel like when it comes to social initiatives, boxing is the most is could be the loudest megaphone to talk about progress and change. So uh, I believe that Clarissa, throughout her career, has done a phenomenal job with that.
Like, do you know what, that whole situation was crazy? Because I remember the fight. The fight was supposed to happen. I think was it September or August? It was supposed to
September
happen
10th.
September
It was
10th.
supposed to
Yeah.
happen September 10th.
And then obviously what happened with the unfortunate passing of the Queen, it got put back. But I was so looking forward to the build up. Was brilliant, wasn't it? The both ladies put on a great job of building it up. And then when it got cancelled, you felt like, oh, do you know what? It's such a deflation, and you thought it's gonna happen again, but it's not gonna be as big. But when they put those two women together, they just gelled so well, and the chemistry was still there to still create that big
Yeah,
fight atmosphere.
it was an incredible experience to be able to see the country go through that mourning period, and the day of the weigh-in, before the fight was officially canceled, sitting in a room with head of the BBFC, head of Sky, boxer, myself. What an incredible experience that I would cherish for the rest of my life, because these type of situations happen very rarely, and to be able to experience it on the ground in a real life situation is really incredible. And I was proud to be a citizen of the world that day, because sports is important, but it's important that as society we honor people that have contributed the, to our progress, and the Queen has. And it was beautiful to see the country mourn her in such a way.
Amazing, man.
And
Well,
obviously, when the fight happened October 15th, that happened at the right time, and it was a huge event, sold out, highest rated women's sporting event on Sky ever, one of the highest rated boxing events. So all the things that we wanted to happen happened.
amazing, man. So talking about next up, we saw that fight, cracking fight. One of the all-time greatest female fights. You have to say. What's next for Claressa now? You mentioned a little bit. What we haven't heard from her. She's been on the press saying she wants to fight. What's next for her?
Well, we've been exploring the possibility of a fight with Natasha Jonas, which I believe is the next biggest fight in the division. From what I understand, Natasha turned it down, and her camp turned it down.
Oh,
although they said that they wanted it, but when push came to shove, they didn't want it. And just exploring different possibilities for Claressa to fight. It would be tremendous for Claressa to fight in Africa and in the Middle East. That's her career at some point in a not too distant future, because I believe that for Claressa, as a woman of empowerment, as a symbol of empowerment, who came from Flint, Michigan, USA, one of the most challenging places in the United States, to grow up in the United States and to accomplish such worldly superstardom, she's really a beacon of hope, and can inspire in these developing places, culturally developing in some ways, certainly for women's rights, talking about Africa. How inspirational will she be for little girls growing up in Africa and the Middle East, which is going through a renaissance as well. So it's for Claressa. Claressa is a Muhammad Ali of this generation, and has a lot of possibilities to empower and to make the world a better place.
What do you think so far? We've got so many African great fighters in there, not just in boxing, but UFC. Why do you think there's been no big shows and stuff there in such a long time?
In Africa?
Yeah.
Well, I believe that probably it has to do with financing, with either back in the day it used to be countries that used to sponsor these fights. Probably there's no casinos, or there's no big arenas, and today, aside from Francis Ngannou, I don't know of a big superstar from Africa that would make the world stop like there was back in the day. So Africa is a tremendous continent, and certainly has a tremendous history of some of the biggest fights of our sport. The Rumble in the Jungle, obviously one of the biggest, maybe the biggest boxing fight of all time. So for Claressa to follow in the footsteps of Muhammad Ali and to go back to Africa and to fight a meaningful fight there would be really incredible.
Yeah, man. Well, hopefully
it would jump from the sports pages to regular sports pages, and really transcend the sport of boxing.
Amazing, man. Well, hopefully you can make that happen along with the promoters pretty soon for it, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So hopefully some big news dropping on Classera Shields soon. You got another fighter who's got a big fight coming up, Jermaine Franklin. Obviously you said you're going out to Florida to go see him next week. Have you been in contact with him? How's he finding everything out there?
Good. He's very motivated. He started this training camp already being in shape, and he knows this is a life-changing opportunity for him. speaking with his trainer, Jesse Addison, quite often. He's very focused, laser focused, and putting in a lot of work. Believe he's going to come in pretty light for this fight, in great shape. And this is his fight to win. It's a life-changing opportunity for him. Anthony Joshua has to motivate himself and tell himself, and possibly hire professionals to tell him how important this fight is and how this is a pivotal moment in his career. Jermaine Franklin, every day, every minute of the day, he thinks about it, and he knows his inside knows that this is his opportunity. This is what he worked for his whole life, and it's I would say where Anthony Joshua was from an emotional point of view when he fought Vladimir Klitschko, maybe when he fought Charles Martin, when you want to be a champion. And now Anthony, great fighter, and I'm a fan of Anthony Joshua for what he did for the sport, inside and outside the ring. Great guy, very, very true gentleman. A lot of respect for him, but he's had a lot of success, and we're all human beings, and success changes you. It's not a judgment. It's not good or bad. I'm not judging him, but from an athletic point of view, he's not as hungry and as devoted as he was to the sport of boxing. And he said himself at the press conference, he said, "I'm fighting for the money." And when you fight for the money, when you do anything, if you do it for the money, that's usually not a recipe for greatness. When you want to be great, you do it because because you love the process and you love the sport, and the reward is that you make a certain amount of money.
But you know, with that, Dmitry, I think what it is, well, sorry to interrupt, I think what it is he's done it for people. For years, you see his attitude, like it's always been about the people, want to inspire people, do great for people. But I think when he had that two losses against Usyk, especially the second one, and the Andy Ruiz loss, he saw the change in people's attitudes, how everyone was against him. And I think he's got that attitude now, like, fuck this. Now I'm just doing it for me and money and my family. I think that's the sort of attitude he's going in with it. I think it's still, from what I understand, I think his greatness is he's still after, but his motivation sort of has changed, I think.
When you're a kid and you go to a boxing gym to box, boxing is a very difficult sport. You have to go through a lot of uncomfortable situations to be able to be successful. And I'm sure Anthony Joshua had to do it as an amateur, as a professional, and the higher you go and the stiffer the competition, the more you encounter with these situations in training, in fights, physically, emotionally, in every way. And it is the motivation and your own personal fire that burns inside of you, that maybe only that makes you be successful, that makes the rounds that we saw with Vladimir Klitschko and Anthony Joshua one of the greatest rounds in heavyweight boxing. So, but life happens, and then you accomplish certain things that you wanted to accomplish as you're a kid, and you've made a lot of money, and you live in a nice house, and you drive a nice car, and you go on nice vacations, and you wear nice clothes, and you meet the queen, and you meet dignitaries and celebrities, and you're the man. And it's amazing what boxing can do. It's really an amazing possibility of rags to riches. And Anthony has been at the mountaintop for a long time. It's tough to be at the mountaintop from every way, from people judging you, from all the different things, like you said. So I'm not making a judgment call. I wish him all the best and a long, happy, successful life. I'm just saying, from a purely objective boxing point of view, he's not as motivated as he was. He admits it. And Jermaine is a young guy who watched the stuff on TV, read about it in the papers, been told about it by me, by different people before me, and this is his dream. And he understands how well he did against Dillian Whyte, and while he believed it, to actually do it empowers you. So he's empowered now, and he's confident, and he knows that he can go to London, to England, thousands of miles away from home, not get intimidated by the crowd, by the atmosphere. He's coming in there to do what he got to do to take care of business. And he knows that he can do it. So the fight with Dillian Whyte was a big
confidence boost
help to him, and it's going to lead him to bigger success in this fight with Anthony Joshua.
What
He
do you
has to,
think?
for Jermaine to win, he has to make Anthony Joshua feel uncomfortable a couple of times. He has to make him doubt himself. And this Anthony Joshua, to doubt himself is not as much as it would take 5 years ago. That's the point. The point is that Anthony Joshua in the ring, when the going gets tough, I don't know if he's going to get going anymore.
Did he try that against Dillian White though? Try and make him feel uncomfortable to make him fit that self doubt that potentially I don't know if it's creeped in before, but was that the plan against Dillian White as well?
Well, the plan with Dillian White was to go in there and win, and Jermaine took the fight relatively speaking on short notice. He came in heavy, and he did a fantastic job. Dillian White underestimated Jermaine, and throughout the fight was not able to adjust to what Jermaine was able to bring. So, Jermaine definitely grew as a fighter from that experience, and Dillian White, not as skilled as Anthony Joshua, but possibly at this stage of his career, certainly for that fight, he didn't see it as a possibility that he would lose to Jermaine. And I believe that as the fight went on, he got more and more discouraged. And to his credit, came back in a fight as the fight developed, and did well in round 10, 11, and 12 in spots. So different people mentally, different fighters, and different motivation going into this fight. Anthony Joshua knows that he's being doubted, and he knows that he's had switched this trainer number 3 in just a couple of fights. So boxing is about trajectory. Jermaine's trajectory is slow and steady rise. Anthony's up and down, So we'll see what happens. The ring is the great, the truth shall set you free, and we'll see on April 1st.
Yeah, man. As we all know, the ring don't tell any lies, does it? It will tell you who's ready for this fight, which I'm sure they both will be on the night.
Exactly.
Looking for April 1st on Daz, so we look forward to that. Talking about heavyweight, you also managed one other heavyweight, Otto Wallins.
Yes.
Not heard from him since the Tyson Fury fight. I know he's had a couple of fights. His most notable win was against Dominic Brazil. Pretty low key fights. But what's in the running for Otto Wallins?
Yeah, we've been keeping Otto busy. He was supposed to fight Dillian White, if you remember.
Yes, he got called. I think that was before Tyson Fury, wasn't it?
Right before Tyson Fury. I mean, Otto was at home waiting for an Uber when he got the call that Dillian White was injured. So it happened, a week before the fight or so, and very disappointing and very heavy and very difficult to deal with. But that was a big fight that didn't happen. And spoke with Eddie about doing a fight with Otto and Joshua leading up to this one, and had some other conversations of big fights for Otto. And when push comes to shove, and when guys have to sign the contract, they look at Otto's fights and they figure out how difficult he is, and they don't want to fight him. So I believe that a fight that makes a lot of sense for Otto, he has 2 possibilities, in my opinion. If Fury doesn't fight Usyk versus Otto is a great fight, because Otto gave Usyk the toughest fight of his career. And option B, obviously, it all depends on the rankings and what happens. Otto versus Hrgovic is a great fight as well, if it's for the interim IBF world title. So these are 2 fights that I'd like to focus on and try to see if we can make. And obviously, a fight with Dillian White, it's up to Dillian. We've reached out to him and told him that Otto's interested, but Dillian is waiting to see what's going to happen with Joshua Franklin, and he's looking for the biggest money fight that he can get. Otto versus Deontay Wilder is an interesting fight as well. Otto versus Ruiz, because on paper and in the ring, Otto gave Tyson Fury, who is the best heavyweight in the world today, the toughest fight of his career, landing more punches against him than anybody else ever, and giving him that big cut. So Otto has proven and has the resume to be a legitimate contender against any of the top guys. It's just a matter of getting it over the finish line and getting it done.
You just mentioned one there that sounds really interesting. Obviously, as Otto Usyk, Otto Deontay Wilder, but you also mentioned Ruiz. we've not heard from Ruiz for such a long time. What's he doing? Is he retired from boxing? Is he still boxing? What's the news with him?
Well, he was supposed to fight Deontay Wilder.
Yeah,
He was supposed to fight Hergovic for the IBF
yeah.
world title. WBC eliminated with Wilder, so I'm not sure what's going on with him.
He's been released by Showtime as well, I think.
Different rumors going on that he is with PBC, he isn't with PBC. He's talking. Eddie's saying that he wants to talk to him. So not sure what's going on with him, but certainly an interesting fight for Otto, and I wish him all the best.
And who is Otto Wallins promoted by? Obviously, you manage him. Is he promoted by any?
Promoter. No, he's promoted by me.
Oh,
I'm not a manager, I'm a promoter.
Sorry, yeah.
I know. In Europe, you could be both, I think, but
Yeah.
And a lot of times the British press writes that I'm a manager, but I'm a promoter.
You're a man of many trades, then.
No, I'm just a promoter.
Just a promoter. We'll just put you down as a promoter, then, man. So that's with Otto Wallin, and you obviously got one other heavyweight that's returning to action pretty soon. Big Baby Miller.
Jarrell Miller is fighting Lucas Brown in Dubai on March 18th. Excited about his comeback, about his potential, and about his possibility. He's had some challenging years and never really got a chance to test himself against the top tier elite heavyweights. So I believe that he has the skills and the ability and the hunger to get to that level. Lucas Brown is a significant fight in that direction, and looking forward to a bright future with Jarrell.
What has Gerald been doing over this past couple of years? Has he been in the gym? Has he been training? Has he been working? I guess because he has been able to box, has he? Unfortunately.
Well, he's had 2 wins this year, last year, since he got off suspension, and yeah, he's been training and trying to get himself back together, and hopefully living up to his potential as a big time heavyweight from Brooklyn, New York.
Yeah, where they produced many great heavyweights. Well, we had a big case over in the UK with Conor Benn failing the drugs test twice. Obviously, he's been cleared by the WBC as of yet. But when the whole case was going, it reminded me of the sort of Baby Miller sort of situation and what you guys were going through at the time as well. I mean, now you see how that case is handled compared to how the big Baby Bill or Jermaine Miller case was handled. What's the differences that you see there?
Well, I don't know about all the details that happened in Conor Benn's. I'm not his promoter. I'm not involved with him, so I don't know what happened in terms of substance, how much he had, how much he didn't have. I mean, it seems to be that Eddie, Eddie was aggressive against Jarrell, and is protective of Conor Benn. So I don't know if it's based on the numbers or based on the test. I don't know enough about Conor Benn to properly comment on that situation. But generally speaking, obviously, there's lots of details to these type of situations, and it's important that the right people that know the business and know the levels and know drug testing and drugs and all these different things evaluate it properly and make the best decision for the sport and for the fighters. And I'm against steroids to the biggest extent of the law, and fighters and athletes should be penalized for such behavior. It's unacceptable. And different governing bodies and state sanction organizations. As an example, Nevada is the one that suspended Jarrell. So Jarrell has been out of the ring for 4 years.
Wow, has it been that
long? So that's a lot of time. It's a lot of time. Probably the peak years of his career, and you can really say that he paid. You know that he paid for the mistake that he's made. He paid. He really paid for it with money, with ability, with something. He'll never be able to get that time back. Those years of being an elite heavyweight. So he paid his dues, and now he's took, I believe, about 10 voluntary tests to show that he's clean. And from what I see, speaking with him and seeing how his training and his focus on the boxing game, I think that he's not. I think that he's a changed guy as it relates to that particular part of his life, and he's never going to do it again. So that's what I believe. But anything can happen, and we should have a zero acceptance policy when fighters take drugs, because it puts the other person. Boxing is a very tough sport and high risk to begin with, and certainly taking something like that puts your competitor at even higher risk. So there's no room for that in our sport. And when I say we, I'm talking about the whole boxing community needs to work together on some things to make sure the sport grows. It's okay to be competitors and to say my fighter is better than your fighter, and to promote the sport of boxing in that regard. However, I think it's important that the players in the sport of boxing come together and work together on some issues and be inclusive of each other, so that the sport of boxing can grow. Because I feel that it's going through a bit of recession, and we need a push to make sure that the sport survives in a big way as it could and as it should.
Like, is that a big reason? I mean, did you, based on your ethics and what you said now, you find it hard to back a fighter who's failed a drug test? Was it hard for you during that situation to still work with Jermaine or Miller during that time?
Well, I know Jarrell since he's a kid, since he's a little bit younger than me, since he was 16 years old. He used to go to training camp with me when I used to fight. So was it hard? It was hard on many different levels. I mean, people that trained him and that were with him and his family, I knew them since as long as I knew Jarrell. So and everybody together worked hard for this opportunity. So it was very disappointing for Jarrell, for people around him, that this happened, and that he made himself unavailable for such a great opportunity, for such a big fight that he had a chance to win, for such a life-changing payday, truly a life-changing payday, and just an amazing platform to live out your dream. And Jarrell fought for me since the second professional fight, and when I first saw Jarrell fight as a professional, I told him, Jarrell, you have the chance to be the heavyweight champion of the world. And that fight was at Roseland Ballroom in New York City. That place is not around anymore. And when we were sitting at the press conference in Madison Square Garden, Jarrell, a couple of feet down, Anthony Joshua, big post, the heavyweight world title. I said, Jarrell, look, man, look. Just a couple of years ago, you were fighting at the club, a couple of blocks away. Now you're fighting in the Mecca of boxing, the biggest arena on television. What an incredible opportunity for you. And he said, yeah, it's incredible. Thank you for believing in me, Dmitry. We're going to do this. And, and then somewhere between then and a month or so later, unfortunately, he failed the drug test and lost that incredible opportunity. So I think that Jarrell, every day of his life, almost thinks about it. And from what I see, he's a changed man. He's been out of the ring for 4 years, and it is my sincere hope that he takes this as seriously as he can and does what he has to do. And I believe that he will. But as my trainer Jamil used to say, I'm from the Missouri, the Show Me State. So one thing at a time. He's fighting Lucas Brown, and we're looking forward to a statement-making performance
over in Dubai, which is going to be it seems to be like the growing area for boxing at the moment in the Middle East.
Yes.
Obviously last week we had I don't know if you saw the fight. I don't know if you're big on influencer boxing or whatever they call it, YouTube boxing. Jake Paul and Tommy Fury you had out there. You had a big fight on the undercard as well for the cruiserweight world title.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a big fight as well. So what did you make out of the whole boxing scene out there at the moment?
I think it's great. I think this is it's a growing community for the sport of boxing. and there's a significant amount of money to bring big fights there. It feels like, obviously not just boxing, but in business and culture, the Middle East is becoming a real player, and a lot of people want to be there. They want to have a good time, enjoy themselves in that part of the world, and boxing is one of the attractors. So it's great to see the sport growing that way, and it's good to see that these places are committed to the sport of boxing and making it a much more bigger global brand, which is what boxing needs.
Definitely at this time. It's definitely with boxing what it needs at the time. Right, Dmitry. Thank you very much for your time. Is there anything else that you want to leave us with there?
I do. I wanted to say one thing. Yesterday, an article came out about top 5 underrated light heavyweights, and one of them was Ali Ismailov, a light heavyweight that I promote. He's only 9-0, rated in the top 10 in IBF and other organizations, trained by John David Jackson. He's the best light heavyweight in the world. He's fighting next week, just a busy fight, and we're gonna working on announcing some big fights for him this year. Keep your eye out on him. Ali Ismailov, NABF light heavyweight champion out of Detroit, Michigan. I'm very excited about his potential and about this year. And always, again, thank you so much for having me on. Look forward to continue making good fights and coming back to the UK for big events.
Big fights. Will you get involved in this YouTube influencer boxing?
Would I get involved? I mean, as a one-off here and there, I would do it. But so Jake Paul and others, there's a separation. Jake Paul is a different influencer than the rest of them, because Jake Paul at least tried to make a career out of it. He hired trainers. He really trained. He really wanted to be somebody in boxing. He's not that. I mean, he started boxing late, so he's not that good yet in terms of skill. But at least he gave it a try, and it's good because the community, and I'm talking about the community of fans, were able to see him training, able to see boxing people. He had real fighters fighting on the undercard, so he didn't make a joke out of the sport. He gave it a fair try. A lot of these influencers are making a joke out of sport, and they don't even know how to stand properly in a boxing stance, and it's not boxing. It has nothing to do with boxing. It's a combat attraction, but it's not boxing.
Yeah.
And another time I want to talk to you, since we're talking about influencer, because it's kind of related in a way. I want to talk to you about slap fighting and how terrible it is. But we'll talk about it another time.
We'll talk about that another time. Definitely, we'll talk about it.
Really needs a deep dive.
Yeah, definitely it does. Right, Dmitry, thank you very much for your time. And we're going to do a sit down in person when you come to the UK.
I'd love to. All right.
Because I've obviously looked into you. I remember first time I saw you fight just before we finished was the Amir Khan fight when you come down there. Yeah. And then obviously I saw you some of the fights after that. Love to know more about it, because you were 30-0 at the time, weren't you? With one draw or something.
Yeah. Yep. No, I was under. Yeah, exactly.
So love to find out about your boxing journey, how you got involved in boxing, sure, when you have time to come down.
Sounds great. All right, man. Thanks for the interview.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Bye.